And what I'm learning from other women of the same age is we are at that point where all of the knowledge comes together and we are at our peak. And this is my own theory. That's why patriarchal society has deemed us over, because we're terrifying now, because we're good at our jobs. We see through the bullshit. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Moment, where I basically fill you in on all the important moments that you need to know about today and talk to somebody who I think is having a moment. And that person today is Australian actor Kat Stewart. I love her so much. She's basically been in this industry for as long as I have, and I've never met her before, but I've watched her. She's been in my living room for pretty much the entire time. She played Roberta Williams in Underbelly, which was hugely popular and really launched her into the stratosphere. And she also played the character of Billy on Offspring for many, many years, and that was a huge Australian program as well. She is a phenomenal actor and is currently playing the role of Martha in a new production. Well, it's not new. It's played a couple of times in Melbourne over the last few years, but it's now in Sydney, and there is a run of that play until December the 14th. And you would have seen the 60s film that stars Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. I'm sure it's a magnificent film. And this is the stage production of that, which is in fact longer and a lot funnier. Also, I'm told. I sadly haven't been able to see this production with Kat in the lead role, but it's something I would love to do. And I have so many questions, because Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf was such a phenomenal play at the time. And the role of Martha and the toxic relationship that she has with her partner, George, is still so relevant on so many levels in terms of the portrayal of a woman trapped within societal structures who's got all this potential but yet has nowhere for it to go. It's such a phenomenal play, and I think Kat would be utterly phenomenal in it. So if you're in Sydney, please go and see it for me. I'm hoping they do another run somewhere else so I can actually catch it. But yeah, I'd love to see Kat in this role, because I think, well, she is. The reviews are in. I've read them all. She's phenomenal. So she's coming up, but I thought I'd check in with a couple of newsy bits that you might find interesting today. I mentioned Stranger Things on yesterday's episode and the fact that Netflix crashed. Quite old school, really. You'd think that we could cope with such issues by now, but no, that happened. But also it crashed for a reason, and that reason is that it is now the most watched premiere of a show ever. Congratulations. I mean, perhaps all the publicity for David Harbour wasn't a bad thing. Perhaps he's quite relieved it's gone really well. I don't know. David Harbour, of course, if you've just tuned in, Lily Allen's ex, and you know all about that. You can check previous episodes of The Moment for my discussions on that. But Stranger Things, in its first week, an audience of 59.6 million views. That's worldwide within the first week. That is huge. That is phenomenal. And I guess congratulations to the team. It's the final season, the 5th season. People were very, very excited. I hope it's delivered. I'm sure I'll get reports on that from people who've watched it. But as I said yesterday, I won't be watching. I'll get too scared. I'm getting even softer in my older age, I think. But I talked about Stranger Things yesterday within the context of us worrying that technology is taking over. And yes, there are very valid reasons for that worry. But there was another example in the last few days where technology hasn't delivered in the way that we think it should. Mad Men, the phenomenal series set in the 1950s/60s advertising world, which everybody, I think, universally adored when it was released many, many years ago now, is getting a rescreening on HBO Max. And the whole point of it has been so people can check in with the series again and see how it's fared historically. I'm actually looking forward to watching it again. I wish I had more time. There's so much I need to watch in the now, let alone going back and rewatching, but I feel like I will do it with this one. It arrived at HBO on Monday, December 1, and they offered the promise that it would now be seen in 4K, which is of a quality that is unsurpassed. Huge improvement in quality with this one. So people are getting very, very excited to see this in even higher than high definition. But the problem is Okay, this is where it gets funny. There's a famous season 1 episode that ends with Roger Sterling, who gets very, very drunk and pukes up oysters all over the office floor in front of prospective clients. I remember it. It was quite phenomenal at the time. This new 4K version, and people notice this straight away, shows a set technician holding a hose to simulate the vomit in the side of the frame. So the new technology has actually meant that obviously the screen is a bit wider and they've captured some of the people doing very, very human things around the edges. And also one of the episodes was mislabeled. So it just goes to show that you can have all the technology in the world. There'll still be absolute cock-ups somewhere in there. Apparently the wrong series or the wrong version was sent to someone, and get it right. I feel like someone might have lost their job over that though. I mean, it's pretty big muck up. I wouldn't want to be responsible for it. Good news, Miley Cyrus is engaged. She's engaged to a fellow musician called Max Mirando. I think he goes by Mirando. And I don't know anything about Max Mirando, but they look happy. And he also looks a little bit like a 2025 version of a 1970s/1980s heartthrob Gino Vanelli. Go look that up for a bit of fun today. And in a final little moment, an architectural moment, I seem to be doing a lot of those right now because I'm obsessed with some of these mid-century houses that have history, and I think you should know about them too. Liberace's former LA home with iconic piano pool has hit the market for 3.2 million, which is probably about 5 million Australian. So we could go in a timeshare for that. Sadly, I looked it up online, checked out the listing, and look, the iconic piano pool is still there, but the owners who took it over removed all of the incredibly Hollywood Regency tacky interiors that I adored that Liberace created. I mean, it was next level. They've taken them all out. They've given it a whitewash. It's just so sad. I don't think people realise what they're doing when they just go in and clear out the interiors of these places. Yes, they might not be to your taste. I get that, but perhaps look at it from an historical perspective, especially if you're buying a house of somebody who is so iconic. It would have been lovely if they'd kept the mirrors and the glass and the gold and and not the shag pile. I get it. Rip out the shag pile because that stuff captures everything. There'll be stuff from the 70s in there that you don't need to have in your house. It would actually be a biological hazard, I'm sure, in Liberace's house. But everything else, have a think about it. Think about the tiles in the bathroom. They do come back around in style. We're seeing that now with the return of all the 80s bathroom interiors and kitchen interiors. If you hang on to things long enough, they do come back around, and there's a real quality to some of those early materials that we used in these houses that you don't get again. Everything's a little bit cheaper and a little bit less well made or made with love. So, yeah, I genuinely am a bit disappointed at the whitewashing of this one. It does happen a lot, but fingers crossed people will start to learn that it's better not to just go in and rip it out just because that's what you want at that time, because even that stuff's starting to look really bad now too, and also really boring. Let's lean into our humanity just a little bit more. Keep the colours. Keep the styling of things that we like. It's okay to show your personality in your house. You're not living in a house to sell it. You're living in a house to love it. And that's my theory on that. Maybe they didn't love Liberace's stylings. And yes, it probably would have been a little bit over the top for some people. But, do it for the rest of us. Be a custodian of some of these houses. Save it for the next gen. They need to see how bonkers things really were. All right, it's time to talk to the wonderful Kat Stewart, and I'm very grateful. She's talking to me because she's doing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf on stage every night, and it's an over 3-hour production. And by all reports, it's phenomenal, and so is she. So, hello, Kat Stewart. Welcome.
Hello, Myf. Thank you.
Oh, Kat, I'm so excited to talk to you because I don't think I've ever interviewed you before. I've seen you at the Logies from a distance, and you're always winning awards and looking incredible. You always look incredible. So it's such a joy to speak to you because you've been in my life, I think, for as long as I've been in the entertainment industry, because we're the same era. I'm 52.
And Myf, I feel the same way. I was actually watching you on Sticks and Specs on the weekend. So to actually talk to you is so lovely.
Oh, it is so lovely. And I apologise for getting you up early to talk to me this morning because you've come off doing a 3-hour show of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which is happening in Sydney until December the 14th. And a 3-hour show is huge. by anyone's standards. How do you do it every night?
Oh, it's a beast, Myf. Even though it's really exhausting and it's 3 acts with 2 intervals, it's such a great play. It's always in the top 10 plays of the last century, and it sounds kind of corny, but it's such a privilege to work on a script this great. And Edward Albee, who wrote it in 1961-62, he's dead now, but he refined it over many decades. And the version we're working on, he refined in 2005. When they did a revival of it with Kathleen Turner. So it's just every comma, every word is just so well placed. It's just it's so much fun to do.
It's phenomenal. And sadly, Kat, I haven't seen you in this production. I think I was living in Brisbane when it was on in Melbourne a couple of years ago, and now it's on in Sydney. And I would kill to see you playing this role because I rewatched the movie last night with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton just to get it back in my head. And I was like, oh, I want to see this show with you in it. I'd forgotten how difficult it is to watch, how toxic the relationship is between Richard and Elizabeth Taylor, who play the characters.
They cut out an hour of it, Myf. Like, it's longer. But the great thing about this production is Sarah Goods, the director, is she's so good. It's much funnier. Even though Mike Nichols, who directed it, was a great comedian, they cut out a lot of the comedy and they trimmed it down. So I think even though this production's longer, it's funnier. But, yeah, Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor were just dynamite.
Wow. I mean, they were in a relationship at the time, I think, or they had been, and it was on again, off again. I'm not sure. It's all gossip at this point. But you're doing it with your husband, David Whiteley. Like, how extraordinary is that experience to get to, I guess, play out some things that would or could happen in a relationship and actually be in a relationship at the same time?
Yeah, well, look, we entered it with some trepidation for all those reasons, Myf, because, you don't really want to rock the boat. And we've been together for over 20 years and I'd be a real shame to kill it now. But we worked together a lot before we had kids and got married. This production's the first time we've got to work together as actors since we had kids 13, 14 years ago. So it's been lovely to just kind of key back into that old shorthand we used to have and be colleagues again. And kind of, I'd love watching him in this role. He's just brilliant as George, just seeing him fly. And, to have this shared work life to talk about instead of, kids and who's taking the rubbish out and, have we got the shopping and all that stuff. That's been really fun, even though it's nasty. It's a nasty play. It's not us. We're very different. And you're able to drop the accent and get out of the costume and kind of just talk about the work again. It's been really great fun.
Oh, that's nice. So it's kind of like you remember, because we can forget in relationships what we loved about the other partner sometimes, because relationships are hard, okay? And let's just acknowledge that. No one's as perfect and we all struggle at times. I mean, I struggle so much I'm not even in one anymore. So what's it like, reconnecting professionally and seeing that person outside again of those relationship constraints?
Yeah.
Like, is it actually fun?
Yeah, it's really lovely because it's so easy to forget, your partner's work personality, the version of them that you met originally. So, to see David in that work setting and also just to see how good he is, like talent is very, very attractive. So I think it's been a really big plus.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you, though, about playing the character of Martha. As you said, the film version is very dark, and Elizabeth Taylor did a phenomenal job. I mean, them's big shoes to fill, let's be real.
Yeah.
But the character, she's kind of a product of her era, isn't she? She's trapped. She's trapped by societal constraints. She's unable to be a whole person with ambition. She's stuck at home. How do you see that playing out in the way she acts in the world or exists in the world?
Yeah, you're 1,000% right, Myf. She's very much trapped. She's someone with such intelligence. She should be running, she should be the CEO of something, but it's 1961, 62. She can't write a check. She can't have a career. There's nowhere for her to focus that ambition. So she's channeled that ambition and that strategy into their partners' careers. But she's married someone who she deeply loves, but who is not in the least bit ambitious and doesn't want to play that game. So she's just there's so much frustration, and he too is a victim of the system. So she drinks and she gets frustrated. And it blows my mind that Albie was only in his early 30s when he wrote this, because he channels the heartbreak of middle age so well when, you know, you realise that it's not all about you anymore, that it's not your turn anymore in the same way. So she's got all this capacity and nowhere to put it. She's also had a really hard childhood, a dead mother, a father who's not particularly warm. So she's a recipe for frustration, anger, but she's so dynamic and she refuses to say die. She just keeps swinging and she refuses to let George give up. But their dynamic kind of becomes quite toxic and but funny as well. They're really it's just there's so much richness to play. I love getting deep and dirty and all this muck. there's so much frustration, but so much great material there. It's great.
Yeah, I think I'd forgotten how many levels this character of Martha has, and I thought how much fun that would be for you to play, because there's often that chat that there's no great roles for older women, whereas this is one of them, isn't it? In terms of your acting,
1,000%. She's I've looked, I've looked at the classic, and there's some, for this particular age range, I can't imagine ever getting to play a role on stage that's going to match her. She's just such a wonderful creation. It blows my mind that he was able to write her when he was so young. And it's different each night, and there's a lot of, as I said, there's a lot of humour in this production. A lot of it's about the game playing and the sparring between George and Martha, but also their unwitting guests, Nick and Honey, who are brilliantly played by Emily Goddard and Harvey Zielinski. It's just fantastic. So it's a great ensemble, and being able to do this 3 times, we're just loving it. We're pinching ourselves.
Will you do more? Is it heading elsewhere? Fingers crossed.
Look, there are vague chats about taking it somewhere else, but I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up. I'm sort of expecting that, we did it for 5 weeks at Red Stitch in an 80-seater theatre to start with in St Kilda, and we just did it because we really wanted to do it, and then it got picked up by the Comedy and now STC. So everything's been a bonus. So I don't want to – I'd love it, but I'm not going to, hang my hopes on it. I think we've done pretty well already.
Yeah. It's a play from the 60s. What's its relevance today, especially when it comes to the character of Martha?
There's something about the absolute shock value of seeing what a marriage can become. Long-term relationships are a real mystery, and the way, the language, the shorthand, the cycles, the dynamics that happen. So to get such an unflinching look at a long-term relationship and what has happened to these people and how they cope with each other, I think is really quite cathartic for audiences. And it is toxic and it is verbally and physically violent at times. But I think there's some kind of cathartic release in saying, well, our relationship's not that bad. Look at these guys. But also I think what I find comforting about it is it's a black comedy. It is really funny, but also that the worries we have, and we have a lot of worries at the moment in the world, I find it weirdly comforting that generations before us, this play's over 60 years old now, they were worried about a lot of the same existential things that we're worried about. For them, it was technology, it was with test tube babies and altering chromosomes and engineering people genetically. But for us, it's, we're worried about AI and we're worried about lots of things. But so I find it weirdly comforting that good people have always worried about what's going to happen to us and the future of the human race. I think it's universal themes about relationships and identity and dreams and ambition and also disappointment. I think they're all universal themes that we all grapple with as humans.
Yeah. Could we actually look, aside from the character of Martha being trapped by societal conventions, obviously she had a lot of talent and a lot of intelligence, but could we also see it through the prism of perimenopause and menopause and just the anger and the fury? I mean, that wouldn't have been acknowledged at the time, but I was watching it last night on the movie version, and because we talk about that stuff so much more openly now, I could kind of see it almost, that she can no longer tolerate much at all. Whereas
Yeah.
I imagine she could have acted that everything was fine prior,
Yeah.
perhaps a little bit
I,
better. Do you think that
I,
comes into it?
Absolutely. In fact, we've got a scene that Sarah Goods, the director, added where Martha's just in front of a fan. That it's a sort of a kind of a nod to the hot flush and to menopause. Yeah, I absolutely think that rage she has, that unbridled rage and
Yep.
frustration, that just like, fuck it, this is what I want, this is what should happen, this is what I'm going to say.
Yes.
That's all there, and it's harnessed and showed in a way that no one has, I think, has matched yet. But I was sort of think about it. They cast Elizabeth Taylor, and she was in her 30s. She's meant to be our age. She's meant to be early 50s, and they shot it in black and white, and they put prosthetic makeup on her so she could kind of pass, and she put on a bit of weight, but it was meant to be Betty Davis. The playwright wanted Betty Davis, who was exactly the right age, and so even then there's that kind of that Hollywood misogyny is a part of this. They wouldn't even let the right age woman play this role. Even though Elizabeth Taylor, amazing. She was brilliant. She totally pulled it off. She was brilliant. Yeah, it's really interesting. But he tapped into that truth, that central truth that we're only just beginning to kind of quietly talk about, 60 odd years later.
Exactly. And you mentioned misogyny, the casual misogyny throughout the whole thing. I was reminded how alarming it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
They really didn't like women, did they?
They just didn't rate them. And this is coming from a playwright who's particularly sympathetic, but the casual misogyny and the racism, the casual racism in some of the earlier drafts is just quite shocking. Yeah. But that was toned down in subsequent drafts, but the misogyny is still there, loud and clear.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know prior to this, Kat, that you have a background in psychology. It's what you majored in at university. And I imagine that came into play as you were studying this play originally, but you would have had a language for a lot of these terms that I guess we kind of didn't have a language for up until more recently as well. Things like toxic relationships, codependence, things like coercive control and emotional abuse, things like that. You'd learnt about that. How much do you think your knowledge and understanding of these sort of things helped with your understanding of this as an actor?
Yeah, I think nothing's wasted. So I did marketing and psychology at uni. Interesting choice, Kat. But
I think that's actually a really good combination. That's amazing.
No, I found the Theatre Society at Monash when I was doing those things, and I became much more interested in them than the course I was doing, really. And I worked as a publicist for many years. That came from the marketing when I was supporting myself early on. So nothing's wasted. But yeah, the psychology is really interesting. Some people start with a walk or a scarf, and they work their way in. I always want to get to what's making somebody tick. I always start from inside out. And I'm always been interested in people. That's kind of, I guess, what's drawn me to acting in the first place. That central idea that, and I played a lot of badly behaved people, that idea that the worse you're behaving, usually the more miserable you are, So it's certainly the case with me. If I'm badly not behaving well, it's because I'm miserable. So yeah, I do think it's been really useful. It's a while ago now, but yeah, I'm really interested in people. I'm one of those annoying people that, talks to the Uber driver until they want me to get out of the car, I like hearing about people.
That's awesome. I'm sure they love it because, a lot of people just don't talk at all. So it's probably quite sweet. What will you take from this experience of playing Martha? I know you've done it 3 times now, but when you put it in a box and pop it in the cupboard and when that's done, what has this role given you personally?
I do feel like it's been a bit of, it'll be interesting to kind of, when it's over, I'll be sad, but to kind of reflect on it. But I think I wanted to play a grown-up. And I think as an actor, a lot of the time you're trying to, you obviously you want to look as good as you can. And there's that kind of overt but kind of implicit pressure to kind of look a certain way. And there was something about the freedom of Martha. She's raw. She's unapologetic. She's ugly at times. She's sexy. She's inappropriate. She's brash. She's rude. She's coarse. So many things that I've really enjoyed reveling in. I'm not interested in pretending to be younger than I am. I want to play women of my vintage because we're interesting. We're so interesting. So that's been really great, just kind of embracing and owning that kind of new territory. I feel like that's the coolest thing. But also just the opportunity. When you get to work on a really, really, really incredible script, I'm discovering new things. You get better. I feel like it's just been a great opportunity as an actor, but also as someone in the industry who just kind of wants to kind of lock into this new era, whatever it may be.
I think you've touched on something really interesting. For since the beginning of Western culture, I think women over the age of 50 have been deemed over. You know, we're no longer fertile, so therefore our use was, you know, we became redundant. Whereas what I'm experiencing and what I'm learning from other women of the same age is we actually feel on the inside we are at that point where all of the knowledge comes together and we are at our peak. And I think, and this is my own theory, that's why society, patriarchal society, has deemed us over, because we're terrifying now, because we're good at our jobs. We know what's what. We see through the bullshit. And we call it out because we've no longer got those lovely hormones like estrogen that makes us all nice and palatable. And I think that's why we've been told by more broadly society why we need to disappear. Whereas in actual fact, this is where we bloom for the first time because all that other shit's gone. And I don't know, I feel really excited by the next part of my life now because I've shed all that stuff that keeps you small and keeps you behaving, and you can kind of lean into the unruly. I don't know. Is that something you feel is happening for you as well?
If I can take a little bit of Martha with me, not too much because no one will want to be with me. If I can take a bit of Martha with me, I would like that. Because I think you're right, Myf. I think there's something about this era where you're awake. You're like, hang on a sec. And I'm not doing that, you know, whatever it is. And I don't think that's as comfortable for other people, but it's really exciting. And if you find people that are excited by that too and that are going through it too, I think anything's possible, you know, in the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what you do next. I think you're amazing. I know you've probably got stuff lined up and we don't need to know about that, but what's your dream? Like, what would you love to see? Like, let's manifest something now.
Okay. Well, I'm really lucky in that I found what makes me tick, what makes me feel the most alive, the most excited, and that is performing. I don't dream of directing. I don't have those. I just love this. This is what I love. Genuinely, it's pretty straightforward. I just want to keep doing this and I want to work with great people that make me better and work on great material that makes me better. And I want a happy, healthy family. I just want to keep doing this. And I want, you know, roles traditionally get fewer and far between and they get, you know, smiley and mumsy. And I'm not interested in that. I want to work on interesting stuff. So that's what I'd like to conjure up.
Well, I think, you know, you'll have no problems doing that. And I look forward to seeing whatever it is that you do next. That's amazing.
You too, Myf Warhurst. It's so nice to meet you. This is lovely.
So lovely to meet you too. And if, as I said at the start, I'm in Melbourne and sadly cannot get along at this point, I would love to. If you are in Sydney, I reckon just get a ticket, go do it because I just wish I could do it. Anyway, best of luck with the season and I hope you get a little break afterwards before the next gig. Yeah, if you bring it back, I'll be the first in line to see the show.
Thanks so much, Myf.
This is an MIK made production recorded on Wurundjeri land. Always was and always will be Aboriginal land.